Here is another day in the studio working on my pumpkin mugs. So I started by dividing all of this clay up for handles. I don't typically wedge the clay for my handles unless I've thrown it before, in which case I will wedge them, but this is fresh off the block. So I just cut it into little sections and carefully pat the clay into a nice little carrot shape. I prepped all of the clay I need for handles so that I can make them all at once, which can be kind of tedious, but I do find it a little bit easier to do than making them just one at a time as I need them. I'm pulling these handles to be pretty round. That's not very typical of how I normally like to pull my handles, but for these pumpkin mugs, I want them to have a twist to them. And if they're too flat, the twist is very uncomfortable. So I pull them really round and then twist them slightly, very carefully from the top while holding the length of the handle to create the amount of twist I'd like in them. That makes them look kind of like a vine. Now, some of them I decided to leave untwisted, but still marked. After I made all of my handles, I sit down to trim all of the mugs. Ideally, I would trim all of the mugs and attach all of the handles same day, but that's not always possible when working with this large of a batch of pots, and I'm squeezing these in between my normal days. Typically, I only have 2 days in a row in my studio, and other than that, I don't spend that much time in there because I'm teaching and mixing glazes and working on many other projects. But during the fall, I often squeeze in extra studio time before or after my classes so that I can get this all done. After I finish trimming the little feet of these mugs, I also like to alter the bottoms so the feet have a little bit of a wavy look to them. I use the back end of a paintbrush and divide them into 8 sections, the same as the lobes, matching them up with the indented parts, and then very lightly press back and forth with my little paintbrush to dent the mug foot just a little bit. That does mean I have to trim these mugs pretty wet. Otherwise, when I do this, they break. And in that case, if I have to trim them a little bit later, I'll do little cutouts instead. But I like both looks, so either way is perfectly fine. This method does mean I need to do a little bit of cleanup to make sure the feet look nice and smooth and there's no bumps, which I spend some time doing there. Afterwards, I'd kind of run out of time to attach the handles in the same day, so I carefully pulled them all off of their board and cut off the extra clay and stored them in a tote box. This only works if there's a lot of handles, but I had a whole bunch of them and I pulled them off of the shelf a little bit wet, so they'll all help keep each other wet enough to attach later. I also spend a little bit of time pressing the little sections of the handles flat so they're not too sharp and are still really comfortable to hold. There they all are in their little tote box, and I'll tuck them away for later attachment. I'll also stick any of the mugs that I need to put handles on in a tote box as well to keep them the correct dampness. These tote boxes allow me to come back at a later day and work on these mugs some more, for which I'm very grateful because this is all I was able to get done on this day.